let's talk about what happens when two 4 lines in human design come together, and how that kind of pans out and what that feels like and what it looks like, because it has been something that it is something that plays out in my life, because I am a 2-4 self-projected projector, and my husband is also a line 2-4. So that shows up in interesting ways in our life. And initially, I kind of never really thought anything much about it because I was so focused on my own 2-4 line. However, I can see the similarities in us as far as, kind of being hermits, and then, sometimes, we'll be out and we'll be networking, and I can see the similarities to us, but I never really looked at how it actually impacts within our kind of relationship. I constantly looked at what it looked like for both of us going out, or just for me, if that makes sense. I've never really looked at it as in kind of like, what happens? How does this play out within our relationship? And when I did look into it, I found it really, really interesting. So I thought I'd do a really quick video. This isn't going to be a really long video, but it is part of my Thursday Human Design series. So I have been experimenting, deconditioning, however you want to word it, with human design since 2020. I maybe haven't been 100% dedicated to it because I have work, I have a job, I have responsibilities, all that kind of stuff, and I can't focus in on this 100%. But as I bring things through to my, my consciousness, as I become aware of things, this is when things kind of connect and click for me. And so this was a really interesting piece. Now, I am also a self-projected projector, which means when I self-project these things, I hear the truth in what I was saying. I kind of understand it a little bit more. I treat self-projecting as a way of embodying stuff. So it's really useful for me to talk this kind of stuff out. So I am going to be going back to basics, because what I find is when you first come into human design, you will learn the things about human design that you need to learn in that moment. And then at some point you will kind of like, for want of a better way, move up the spiral, and you will go back to the start of that again, and you will kind of go back to your original kind of human design learnings, and you'll go back to understanding your type again maybe, and you'll find out a little bit more that's more relevant to you now, or a little bit of a deeper understanding. And you just kind of seem to go around this circle, going deeper into human design, down different pathways, but also coming back to the beginning and the basics again, and taking on more, or at least that's how this kind of rolls out for me. So I found this kind of analysis really, really interesting. How these two, we can look at how, the projector and the generator dance together and things like that. But 2-4s, I thought was really interesting, because you've got that element of hermit and that element of being, the opportunist, the networker. But you've got that within the relationship, which I found was really interesting. So let's just review the 2 lines really quickly. Let's just get that summary, that vibe going of what the 2 lines mean. Line 2 is, of course, the hermit, needs alone time, has innate gifts that tend to shine when called out by others, that we can't see our own kind of gifts, wisdom, whatever. And we often retreat into our own little world. The line 4 is the opportunist, and that is like this deep need for relationships. Opportunities tend to come through networks and people who we already know, our connections, and we kind of thrive in that kind of stable, trusted network, that stable, trusted circle. So you've got the 2 parts of that. Inner world, and then this outer world where our circle is, where our network is. So it's really interesting I think it's really interesting interacting with the world as a line 2-4 and as a projector as well, because that brings in quite a lot of differences, in the sense that I don't have the energy to be on all the time, and I want to retreat, and you know, it's just there's kind of like a lot kind of going on. I'm sure there's a lot for everyone who's experiencing and understanding their lines mixed with their type. But in a relationship, that dance still happens. So we both understand, we innately understand the need to retreat, and the need that we will both have to retreat. And we don't take that personally to each other, you know? And you know, it can be that we retreat together. So it can be that we go into retreat mode together. So sometimes, like on a weekend, we just don't want to see anybody. We literally want to shut the gate on our driveway of our house, and we do not want to see anybody all weekend. And why? We will say to each other, we've had enough of people in through the week when we've been at work. We just don't want to people anymore. That's kind of like our conversation. Look, just can't deal with people. I just don't want to people. And so we shut everything down and we hermit together. And so within that kind of hermit together, we maybe hermit separately because we have different interests. So, you know, my husband might hermit in a land of, you know, watching umpteen boxing matches, and I will be hermiting in a land of connecting to my higher self and faffing around with oracle cards. So we do have the difference there. So while we choose to retreat together and we choose to hermit together, within that kind of hermit mode, there could be separate hermit modes going on. And, you know, kind of like within that, sorry, I'm just looking at my notes. I've made quite a lot of notes about this, but we don't take it personally. So if I need space and I don't want to sit and watch something in the lounge with my husband, and I want to take myself off and go in another room, or, you know, whatever it might be, we don't take that personally, because we kind of understand each other, and we understand that that's what the other person needs. That's what our energy does need. And that said, of course, we've got this other side of us, which is this real social animal. And when we're out with people, especially the people that we trust and we connect with, and we, you know, we have this amazing, we love it. We want to be there. We can't wait to speak to people. We want to talk to people. We want to share. We want to do all the things. And so, you know, we thrive in those trusted networks, and we kind of, as a line 4, we're going to build a community, a life where community and connections that we have are nourishing, and we're going to pull away from anything that doesn't feel nourishing. And I suppose that's true for kind of everybody, really, to a certain extent. But we will retreat together, potentially, possibly separately, and we tend to network together as well. And then potentially separately. You know, if we're going out with a gang of trusted friends, you know, he might go off with the fellas and I might go off with the women, or, you know, whatever. But everything does tend, that external kind of thing does tend to be very together. Within the line 2, there is this, I mentioned it earlier on, this call out, this recognition, this need to be seen and recognized. And of course, with the line 2-4 in a relationship, we are recognizing each other and we are validating each other all the time. So that is a really, really kind of like great kind of energy. And we'll be very sensitive. We're very sensitive to each other's energy levels. If one of us is off, we know. We can feel it quite quickly, quite easily, all that kind of stuff. So 2 2-4s together is living in rhythm, okay? It is a dance, you know? One pulls away, the other one pulls away. There's this ebb and flow within the relationship. You know, we flow away from each other, we come back to each other. It is a really natural dance, and when we allow it to flow, it is really nourishing. But when one forces the other, or one tries to pull the other, it just doesn't work. It's got to be this really, really natural flow. And when one of us ebbs into Hermit, what am I trying to say? I'm not trying to say that the other one can pull it out. That's what I'm trying to say. So sometimes when I can go into Hermit, Matt can go into Hermit, and we can create quite a lot of distance there, unknowingly, or maybe if we've been having some kind of conflict. And it does take one of us to see the other and recognize the other to actually be able to call that person back out, so we need to be seen and we need to be recognized, so to be invited back into the world. So one of us has to see the other and invite that person back into the relationship, if that makes sense. So it's really, really interesting. The line 2-4 actually brings forward kind of proof that, solitude can exist alongside intimacy, which is really interesting. I found that really interesting. But the kind of ebb and the flow shows up in daily life. So it's about being able to hermit away from each other, being able to go off and do our own thing, but then come together. And when you come together, it's generally in ritual. Now, if you think about a day-to-day life, that's often food, right? So you come together, you have breakfast, you come together, you have lunch, you come together, you have evening meals, so there's these little, so as we're kind of ebbing and flowing through the day, kind of flowing away, coming together, flowing away, coming together, it's these little rituals that are really, really important in our lives that pull us back together. And that is so true for us. That is so, so true for us. And then I guess the last thing to kind of just throw out there, I'm just looking at my notes, is if there was a phrase that would almost be the love language of the 2-4 projectors, it is, I see you, I've got you. That's the vibe. I see you so clearly, and I've got you. I've got you. I know who you are, I know what you're about, and I can carry that, I can hold that, I am there for that. That is the kind of the vibe. So yeah, I just wanted to share that. I thought that was really interesting. Yeah, that's it really. I don't know what else to say. Have I got anything else to bring to this? I don't think I've got anything else to bring to this at the moment. So yeah, I mean, obviously there are deeper intricacies in that. I've mentioned my human design through this. I've mentioned that I'm a projector. I'm a self-projected projector. Obviously, my husband isn't. He is a generator. He is different to me in that sense. We are very, very different in so many ways. But this 2-4 is the piece that keeps us together, or not keeps us together. This is the piece that we are the same. And I find that really, really interesting that he is a 2-4, but he brings a different energy to the 2-4 that I bring. But we are both 2-4s down the center, if that makes sense. And I find the way that kind of connects really, really interesting to watch unfold. Now, obviously, we're in life, right? And what happens is we tend to roll with life, and we tend to, miss these kind of moments and details then until we can take a moment to reflect. And that's what kind of doing something like this does. It gives me that moment to kind of go, aha, yeah, I see that. I see that too. Oh gosh, yes, that plays out so much in my life, And so, it's just useful to know, and it's useful for me to reconfirm that to myself. Did I know this about myself? Yes. Did I know this about him? Yes. Did I think about how that kind of worked in our lives? No, not necessarily. But now that I have looked into this, and like I say, I can see in our day the move away from each other, they're coming back, the move away, they're coming back, the move away, they're coming back, because that knits its way through, particularly I suppose if we're thinking weekends, it knits its way through our weekends so much. I can see that kind of playing out. Work days are a little bit different, or weekdays, because obviously we work, and so work takes us away from each other anyway. And I think I'm trying to think about different scenarios, and I think when we're on holiday, that is where we're on the same page. We're hermiting together, if that makes sense. We don't want to talk to people on holiday. We are the most antisocial people in the world when we go on holiday. We do not want to talk to anyone. I'm proud of my antisocial status, because I now know that I am allowed it. Human design gives me the permission slip to be completely antisocial, which is until I feel like being social and my line 4 kicks in, obviously. So yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to kind of riff on that, share that. I just thought it was really interesting. So there you have it. Happy Human Design Thursday. And I'll be here with some kind of like little tidbit on human design this time next week. Catch you later.